Imagine waking up one morning and looking at a map of Earth that's completely turned around. The land masses are the same, but now the continents are rotated by 90 degrees. The Indian Ocean is at the North Pole, while the coast of Ecuador marks the South Pole, and the Greenwich Meridian has become the new equator. What would this world look like? Let's first look at the effects on climate and weather patterns. We know that the sun is the main driver of our planet's weather. It heats the equator more than the poles, causing warm air to rise and travel toward the poles, while cooler air moves in across the surface toward the equator. This creates a Hadley cell, a pattern of atmospheric circulation. But the Earth doesn't just have one giant atmospheric cell per hemisphere. It has three, the Hadley cells, where air rises near the equator and sinks at 30 latitude. The Faro cells, which govern the temperate zones. The polar cells, which control the polar regions. If Earth were rotated 90 degrees, we'd still have these cells. The temperature extremes would be similar to what we experience today, but with some huge changes. Let's imagine how this world would look over millions of years after the ecosystems and climate zones had time to adapt. North America. In this new world, Canada will become the new tropical zone, with warm air pushing down from the equator. The Arctic would now be a tropical paradise, while Central America will be icy and polar. Hurricanes would no longer threaten the southern states, but instead, places like Greenland and the Maritimes would face tropical storms and massive flooding. Also, Tornado Alley would shift dramatically. The prairies of Canada, from Hudson Bay Inland, will become the new tornado breeding ground. Imagine tornadoes in places where snow once fell. South America. In this new layout, South America would resemble Europe. Along the Brazilian coast, you find cool temperate weather, while the Amazon would shrink into something more like the Mississippi River, rather than being the massive humid jungle it once was. To the south, the Andes would have a polar tundra climate, becoming an imposing barrier between the southern tropics and the freezing Arctic waters beyond. Asia. Just like North America, Asia would undergo a dramatic flip. The Siberian coast would now face a tropical sea, while the Indian subcontinent and much of Southeast Asia would shift into the new Siberia, cold, dry, and inhospitable. Meanwhile, the Gobi Desert, which once lay behind the Himalayas, would now be much wetter and less dry, but still not tropical. Europe would resemble Southeast Asia, with the United Kingdom and Ireland becoming an archipelago with a tropical rainforest climate. Iceland would shift into the realm of the Philippines, with lush greenery and dramatic volcanic activity. The Alps, now located directly on the equator, would host the only permanent glaciers in the tropical zone. Africa's shift would be fascinating. West Africa, once dry, would now become a lush tropical rainforest, while the eastern region would transform into an arid desert. In this alternate world, Africa would become tornado-prone, similar to North America. More tornadoes would form over the African plains as the atmospheric systems shift, increasing extreme weather patterns. Australia would cool down considerably. The once dry western regions would now be covered in forests due to moisture from the oceans and incoming winds from the tropics. The rainforest would replace the deserts, creating a new wild ecosystem in the region. Antarctica. One of the most remarkable changes would be in Antarctica. With the ice cap gone, Antarctica would become a much smaller, lush paradise. Highland rainforests would cover the region, and the surrounding mountains would offer an idyllic setting. The researchers in McMurdo Station will be working in a tropical resort, and the landscape will be unrecognizable from the frozen wastelands we associate it with. Major cities in this new world. Some cities would get colder, such as Mexico City, which would now sit high in the polar mountains under an ice sheet. Jakarta will become a barren, icy rock, much like Svalbard. Kolkata and Delhi will be cut off from the warmth by the Himalayas, facing freezing temperatures most of the year. Some cities would stay the same, such as New York City, Tokyo, and Shanghai, with only minor changes to their climates. But they will be more mild and wetter due to the new atmospheric circulation. Meanwhile, places like Cairo and Sao Paulo would experience cooler conditions, with tropical rainforests edging into their former desert climates. An instant shift scenario. What if this shift happened instantly? Imagine the Earth's landmasses being moved by some cosmic force without the slow changes of millions of years. There would be chaos. Ice caps would melt rapidly, flooding low-lying cities. Ecosystems would collapse, and species would struggle to adapt to drastically altered environments. Tornadoes, hurricanes, and extreme weather would occur in new places, creating devastating effects across the globe. Conclusion: would rotating the Earth's continents 90 degrees truly change everything? Yes, the world would look and feel entirely different, but we'd adapt. After all, we've always found a way to survive extreme changes. Imagine, how would you live in this new world? Would you head to tropical Antarctica or brave the new tornado alley? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to X Imagine for more mind-bending scenarios that challenge everything you know about our planet.